Yeah, it's awesome.
You got me.
So, Malcolm, we've explored the Hindenburg.
Hey, what's your name?
Alyssa.
Hi, Alyssa.
Hi, nice to meet you. So, what other time periods can we expect to see this season?
We go to 1754. We visited Alamo for the French-Indian War. We go to the 70s. We go to Watergate. We go to Rat Pack era in Las Vegas. Where else do we go? World War II. We meet Ian Fleming when he's a soldier himself, and he's a double agent. So that's a lot, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
18th century, 19th century. We go a bunch of places. It's fun.
Is there one that was your
second one?
Is there one that was your favorite?
The Alamo was a lot of fun, only because I look good in leather. But it's not bad. French Indian War too. I get like nice, cool outfits. It's a lot of clothes, more so. The one thing I can tell you that would happen with people in the past, it was very hard for them to go to the bathroom. Literally anyone who ever existed probably peed themselves if they lived before the 30s. That's how that works.
So, with the background of your character and your relationship with Connor Mason, coming from Chicago, he's been a mentor to you. Are we going to get sort of the backstory of how Connor Mason brought you into the fold?
Yeah, there's a lot of, it's always so funny doing this show because there's kind of a twist every episode, and the way they do this show is that there's layers to everything and everyone's hiding something from each other, and even us as actors are kind of hiding things from each other. There's questions I've asked where they were like, okay, let's wait until Abby and Matt leave the room. So it makes it very hard to talk about sort of future episodes, but I can tell you that the relationship between Connor and Rufus definitely gets explored, gets deeper, it gets richer, and the ramifications of their trust and their loyalty definitely feed into the story.
Are we going to see the time travel start to affect your characters like in the present? Because we've seen it with Lucy and we've seen changes. Are we going to see that?
We are all affected.
You have to be so careful.
I need to be very careful. I've never been a part of a show like this. They're all affected by history. If it's the butterfly effect or if it's the actual experiences that they go through, everyone's affected by the trips, and it affects what happens in the present day.
So obviously the show doesn't really pull any punches when it comes to addressing prejudice as it's, been experienced throughout history. What is it like as an actor and as a person to experience that in a controlled environment? Like to know you're going into a situation where someone's going to be racist to you?
That's an amazing question. That was really well asked. It's so much fun because that's kind of the line where I live, in terms of, I've done spoken word, I've done comedy, and, I'm relatively outspoken on any social media you'll ever see me on. So that's kind of what I look forward to. If you look at my work, I try and do things that have some sort of social relevance, that have some sort of meat and potatoes behind it, even if it's comedy. Do you know what I mean? I think comedy can be a huge effect for social change. If you look at some of the biggest opinion, the most outright opinions, outspoken opinions, it comes through comedy, even politically, from, Lenny Bruce to Dave Chappelle to Richard Pryor to whoever the hell else. So it's amazing to be in a controlled environment that deals with these sort of issues. And these guys are very smart about listening, and they let me have a lot of input, the jail scene and a bunch of other scenes. The thing about how the bus was amazing were ad-libs and riffs that that they let me do. And they are very smart about taking in my opinion, and I love theirs, and I trust them, and we trust each other. And so that's the type of television and type of media I want to be doing. I want to push the envelope. Even in giving that speech, I have this whole thing where I say, OJ did it and we don't care. I went into that speech, that whole thing, knowing that not everybody would be on my side, black or white, on my opinion. And it was just sort of a room for me to just go and be free. And sort of that's where I like to travel in. I like to travel in being opinionated, and I don't think I always have the same opinions that everyone else does. And I think that's what's fun. It's fun to see perspective and to see how different everyone is. And that's kind of the team in and of itself. It's, Rufus, Wyatt, and Lucy are all completely different individuals with completely different perspectives. And it's very fun to be a part of a show that takes that into account in a really realistic way.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, it's a great question. I did my best to answer in an eloquent manner.
What can you tell us about Rufus's journey this season?
It's funny. In the course of the pilot, Rufus goes on an emotional journey that I wouldn't expect to go on as an actor for a number of episodes. He goes from being this insular office, not wanting to go out, any individual, to suddenly having to go back in time, and not only as a black person, but as someone who just doesn't like to leave the house or work or talk to other individuals. So he's got a million things that he has to deal with. He's afraid to talk to his coworker who he has a crush on, and so meeting G at the end, he finally gets the guts to do that. That was just that was a small part of how much Rufus is going to go throughout the entire season, in terms of relationships, in terms of his fears, in terms of doing things he never thought he'd do. It'll be fun.
Rufus is qualified as a pilot, so to speak, and Matt Frewer's character is also a pilot. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know, try to say this delicately so you can actually answer it.
Sure.
Does it matter that your character already knew that the trips were rough and that time travel may have happened before Lucy came?
Does it matter?
Does it matter to the story that we should be paying attention to as fans? Like the mythology of the show? That there may have been time travel before Lucy came?
Yes. It comes into play, not as deeply as you might expect, but
I'm overthinking it.
Yeah, it might be a little bit. But these are, I can tell you this, that the time machine is a time machine that has history, Ours, he always talks about, it's sort of the Millennium Falcon, or like he talks about how this is a show with history, and it does matter that people have died trying to travel into the past. Things have gone wrong, and that's kind of always at the forefront of Rufus's mind. Is particularly in the first episode, is like, this isn't our best machine, and people have died, and now we're going into the past. And so, what can I tell you? The danger is there. I don't know how much we explore it, and also, we haven't gotten to the second half of the season. Also, so there's things I'm finding out along with the audience. So the history is there. I don't know how much it comes into the forefront of the story.
Something they may be able to use.
We'll see. What else? That's it? We good?
Time travel's become a really popular subject for TV shows lately. In addition to your show, you've got Frequency, Legends of Tomorrow, you've got Doctor Who, of course, always. Why do you think that's become such a big aspect of pop culture recently in television?
I don't know. I mean, I would say two things, which is one, I think people love time travel. They love it. I've always loved it as a kid. I grew up on Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, Bogus Journey, and Sliders, and Quantum Leap, and Back to the Future, all three of them, the video game on Nintendo. So I think it's always something that's fascinating. And, on television, when they see something that's working or interesting, it tends to be a Me Too sort of thing. But I do think, I'm going to fan out on my own show. I do think that we are very different. We're the only ones that actually do time travel. Like Doctor Who definitely does. I love Doctor Who. But, Frequency and a number of other shows, they kind of deal with the past and the present, or maybe there's a character here and there's a character there. But we're the only one that travels to a different time period every week, different era, like very actively each and every time. And so that's sort of fun, and the ramifications of that. We're not just taking a character from the past and bringing it to the present. We're going into the past every single week, seeing something different and seeing the reality, and also dealing with actual history. We're not just going into the 50s, trying on some clothes and whatever. Like you're dealing with the actual historical significance and what happened in those time periods. And so that's the other thing, is that it begins to be a sort of historical adventure show, which I never thought I'd be a part of, and didn't know was a genre. So it's sort of amazing for me to be a part of that every week, is that I'm going to learn something. I'm going to learn something about America. I'm going to learn something about history, and there's probably going to be love and war each and every time. So it's fun.
Have you ever sought out learning more about something after reading a script? Like, did you really want to know everything about the Alamo after shooting that scene?
Some of the things, yeah, because there's surprises. Like, I didn't know that the Lincoln assassination was part of a bigger conspiracy, that more people were supposed to be killed. Do you know what I mean? So that was also interesting in the Alamo. And you do whatever sort of prerequisite history you have to learn, but it's also weird weird and different for my character because the idea is that I don't know anything about a lot of these time periods more than the average individual.
Right,
You know what I mean?
right.
I've actually found myself learning more about science stuff. I mean, even though that was my background, like in terms of like, you know, we had like a bomb, and I'm like trying to learn like all these aspects of it. Like he's fun. Wyatt's fun because he gets to like learn to shoot and kick ass. Like I can't really like I'm learning about like bombs and like how to build like capacitors and like it's fun, but like it doesn't kick ass on screen necessarily. But it's cool for like me. Like I went to like a math and science high school. I have a couple of high school friends that are actually here with me now. So for that part, the geek in me is definitely exciting.
Cool.
Yeah.
Any of the
What you apologize for?
no, have you seen any of Eric's and Sean's other previous shows?
Yeah, fuck. Can we? How does this cursing work? I don't know. Anyway, fuck yeah.
We'll blip it out.
Yeah. No, I definitely loved The Shield. I watched like the DVDs, like background, and like watching all of that, and you know, I loved like the Terriers is fun, and Supernatural. I was binging on that for years, but you know, so I know all of their work, and so that was a huge appeal of it. Other than it being an awesome show just on paper, and me being, you know, a huge fan of the sci-fi genre. Very rarely are African Americans involved in that because I think writers are kind of lazy in dealing with that conflict. And so to be a part of that was amazing. And then to have the pedigree of these individuals who I know are good in gritty conflict, in having Sean Ryan do The Shield and do The Unit, who are good in characters, you know, aside from Sean, Eric doing Supernatural and doing Revolution and things like that, and all these other things, and also with the comic it's very clear they know about characters and they know about action. So to have that, the script that I love, and have the pedigree behind it, it's just all a blessing.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.